and welcome back to the Fantasy Football Channel. We are the Schluter Bros. Houston, we have a problem. Today we are talking Texans. Adam, give me your best bull sound or longhorn sound.
You're on your own on that one. I ain't got you there. The horse
All
last
right,
week
how
was
you
enough for
doing?
me. Man, I'm doing wonderful. And let me tell you why. Football is back, folks. Football is back. We have our first preseason game tonight. This is the first ever July NFL football game. Lions versus the Chargers. Tune on in. Let's have a day. Oh, it feels good to have football back, don't you think?
Oh, for sure.
Love it. Ladies and gentlemen, we got a hot one today in Houston, okay? We're starting a new segment, which is Start One, Stash One, Trash One. You can get the reference on that one, I'm sure. We're updating pertinent NFL news, overviewing the Houston Texans team. Most importantly, breaking down all their fantasy-relevant players. After that, we'll finish with a coaching and O-line breakdown. So grab yourself a Paloma, a margarita, or just drink straight from the tequila bottle, and let's get it going, folks. Kyle, why don't you lead us off with the fun segment on Start One, Stash One, Trash One? With this said, folks, the Stash One is more so for dynasty focus or someone for the back end of the year.
Okay, well, I'll do mine. And I don't have to follow the rules, so I'm going to do whatever I want here. And I
Sure.
encourage that.
Sure.
My start one is actually going to be Evan Ingram at tight end.
Oh.
After we had our Denver show, and the more I'm putting things together, it's like
Fresh on the mind.
he could be a guy that really outperforms. He's one season removed from 115 catches, 963 yards in 2023 with Jacksonville. So I look around in Denver. They got, some other guys. You're high on Mims. I was probably a little lower on him.
Yep.
But I think Evan Ingram has a chance to be a standout pass catcher in this offense used with Sean Payton. So that's why I would be starting him. And, most formats, if you're going to get a tight end in the later rounds, he's the guy to take one.
All right. I like it. I'm going to swing right off that with my start one, and I am going Jerry Jeudy. Folks, last year, he finished PPR wide receiver 12. This year, he's going right around wide receiver 33. That is a huge gap and a huge value there. And I know why. Everyone is worried about their QB play, which I understand. It's questionable, but they got 4 playable QBs on that roster.
Maybe one of those quarterbacks can get him the ball.
Which means if someone isn't balling right away, the next guy is going to get in there, and they're all going to be on a tight leash. It's going to be a heavy competitive quarterback room. And I think out of those 4, someone will ball. And at worst, we have old trusty Joe Flacco, who is there, which we know can still ball, comeback player of the year a couple years ago. And I think also at the end of the season, Shedeur Sanders is going to impress a lot of people with the way he gets it going. Lastly, on Jeudy, last year, 90 catches, 1,229 yards, and 4 touchdowns. There's TD progression there as well. Those are not rookie numbers. Those are phenomenal numbers. Look to snag him in your drafts, folks.
Okay. I like that one.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Stash one. I'm actually going to say 2 names here for the Green Bay wide receivers. I'm going to say stash one in Jayden Reed or Matthew Golden. I think one of these guys is really going to outperform, but I don't know which one it is. So
it's a con move, but I respect it.
In certain drafts, I'm going to take a flyer on each of them, and I think that's totally fine at their ADPs.
Yeah, I mean, with your ADP, I could see, that makes sense. You get both of them. One goes down or one picks up, and you can then you'll have some value there. I like that. All right. My stash one is a big and burly running back. He's a rookie, folks. I got him in Dynasty. Cam Scatabo. This guy is strong. He's fast enough. He's going to get a ton of goal line work. And from the get-go, this guy's going to get carries. I don't know if you've seen any of his videos. This looks like a man amongst boys, and he's just a rookie out there. And on top of that, for one of the big boys, he can catch the ball at a phenomenal level. He's an elite catcher for a rookie running back that's so big, and he can pass block very well. So there's going to be no opportunity for him to not be on the field because he can't catch or he can't block. None of that's going to matter with him. Now, the reason it's stash one is because I think the Giants are still going to have a pitiful year, but once they get Jackson Dart going and he takes over, that dude can ball. You combine that with this cat, and a year or two, this offense is going to be humming. You throw in Malik Neighbors, and you could see some wow in a year or two, especially from this bad boy and Cam Scatabo. Get it going, Cam.
Okay. I'll get the trash one started here.
Yeah,
I am
buddy.
going to, no disrespect, but I'm going to trash Chris Godwin, CG, for fantasy football this year. Currently not participating in team relating activities. Continues to rehab from a dislocated ankle injury week 7 last year, which required surgery, caused him to miss the rest of the season. And then there may have been a second minor procedure this spring. They are expecting him to be healthy for week 1. However, he is currently on the pup, missing at least 4 weeks. And I just don't like it. I do not like it. And I do not like his injury history. So I am out.
I like it. I like your thought there. You're not wrong one bit. And Amika Mugba, whatever the heck his name is, he's looked phenomenal. That guy has looked phenomenal.
I'm higher on him at ADP for sure.
My trash one, and you started yours with no disrespect, but I do have some disrespect because I had shares of this guy last year.
Uh-oh.
And Garrett Wilson, you did me dirty, okay? I got you in the third round, I think, and you did me dirty. And I know my brother owns him in Dynasty, which further accentuates my excitement to do you a little bit dirty here, okay? This is a run-heavy, run-first offense with 2 great running backs. On top of that, you have Justin Fields, who's also going to be a runner, and he is unproven with throwing the football in the NFL. I like Justin Fields, but he's unproven with throwing the football. He is not the best passer. He's never going to be the best passer. Additionally, Garrett Wilson just got paid a 4-year, well over $100 million contract, which I think is going to take away his edge a little bit. There's usually a drop-off after you get massive payment. Now, yes, Garrett Wilson is amazing talent. He's going to get a ton of targets. He's a great player, yes. But with the QB play, getting paid, and last year's showing, I am out.
Am I allowed to rebuttal that at all?
Sure, try me.
All right. Well, I'm just going to say he's only 24 years old, and he's got some previous experience with Justin Fields. And when Justin Fields was playing with DJ Moore, like DJ Moore still had great fantasy value. So I'm expecting a similar performance there for me this year on him. But I can see why you're a little sour on him, a little salty.
Yeah,
He did you a little dirty last year.
In our Jets podcast, I talked him up very well, and as we're getting closer to kickoff, it gives me the salt and the pain, and I don't want it.
You're getting some PTSD from last year back? Is that what it is?
I had a nightmare last night. No.
Let's get into the drama. A little bit of news here for you guys. Noah Fant expected to sign with the Bengals. Isaiah Likely, surgery this week to fix his broken bone in his foot.
Mm-hmm.
Expecting to be out 6 weeks. Do you have any comment on that?
No. I wish you a speedy recovery. Mark Andrews' value just went up a tiny bit, and there you go.
Yeah, just a little more confidence, I think. I'm already pretty confident in him. So
yeah,
I think last year what you saw with him was kind of a one-off situation. That's not going to happen again. Okay, you want to take the next one, sir?
Titans waive Treylon Burks. That is a shame. I do think there was an injury related to that. I could be wrong, but that's a shame because he was supposed to be a young cat that was supposed to grow. I also believe he was somewhat involved in the A.J. Brown trade to the Eagles that happens a couple years ago, which means the Titans got minimal to zero ROI on that A.J. Brown trade. So what a shame there. Last one. Quan Jennings injured the same calf that was bothering him during OTAs and has no timetable on his return. He hasn't gotten a new contract yet, so I wonder if he was like, you know what, agent, let me just pull up here. My leg hurts a little bit. You work on my contract, and I'm going to sit on the sidelines and squeeze my calf a little bit every day. I don't know if that's the truth, but I don't blame him if that's what he's doing because the man wants to get paid. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I think George Kittle's value could not be higher right now for fantasy football.
Yeah,
I might have to start moving him up and taking him earlier because
he can't go much higher. He's the third tight end, and you're not putting him in front of Brock Bowers or the other.
Depends where he's going in your drafts, and I don't know now. I mean, it might be hard not to move him up. Who else are they going to throw to? Also, I'm going to say
Christian McCaffrey.
I'm going to say the same thing about Ricky P. As I see him rising.
Yep, I agree with that.
Ayuk we're expecting to be out for a significant part of the season. Yep. Jennings was the only other guy there that was supposedly fresh to start the season, but which is
there's going to be some no-namers on that 49ers receiving core that get some chance to ball early and often this year. So it could be some sleeper value we might have to plug into later on. All righty, folks. We are breaking down the best team in the AFC South, which does not say very much because the AFC South was pitiful last year. The Texans sat on top of the division at 10-7. Colts, Jaguars, Titans, not much love going on there. A lot of question marks with those teams. Besides the point, Texans last year struggled. Total offense, 22nd overall, 319 yards per game, total of 37 touchdowns. Rushing rank, 15th in rushing. Joe Mixon came in and helped out the cause. 112 yards per game, 15 rushing touchdowns. Passing rank, 21st, which was terrible. 207 pass yards per game and 20 touchdowns. Vegas win-loss over-under is at 9.5. My brother, what are you taking on that?
I'm going to take the under on this one just because we've taken the over on so many. I know this is a good team and a poor division, but they do have the 7th hardest schedule. So I'm going to take the under on this one.
I'm not only going to take the over, I'm going to take the over plus a game and give them 11 wins. They revamped the O-line, which I'll get into. They're going to have some wide receiver weapons that are actually alive and on the field. And CJ Stroud is a stud, which we're going to get into momentarily. They do have the 7th hardest schedule, folks. So that is one factor that goes against my bet. Nonetheless, Kyle, why don't you lead them like you got them?
Yeah, let's talk about the fantasy football players. Quarterback, CJ Stroud, disappointing last year. Finished as QB 18, is projected QB 21. Current ADP is around 130. Threw for 3,700 yards, 20 touchdowns. Really nothing with his legs, 200 yards. ESPN's 2025 projections got him for over 4,300 yards, 24 touchdowns. So they do have him, 600 more yards and 4 more touchdowns this year. So they are projecting a tick up. And do you want to say anything about him before I talk about, because I'm going to lay out his last year and some of the reasons I believe for his regression.
You lay it out and I'll hit anything you don't miss. Yep, because I got something. You lay it out and I'll let you do your thing.
All right. In 2023, he obviously had that phenomenal rookie season, complete outperformance. Last year, so I want to talk a little bit into this because this is interesting to me and relevant for fantasy. I see some progression coming back to him this year in this offense, especially with the receivers. So the offensive line was a huge factor last year. That was one thing. Personnel changes, right? They had tons of adjustments. They had a very high sack rate. Stroud was sacked 52 times, second most in the NFL. And then the big injuries as well with his weapons. So, we were all high on Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Stephon Diggs. They all got injured, right?
All three.
All three of them dealt with injuries of their own throughout the season. Obviously, Tank Dell had the most significant one. And, we wish him the best recovery. He's still rehabbing and trying to get himself out there. We're expecting him to be out for the bulk of this season. And Stephon Diggs has been off to New England. So when we got Nico Collins back this year, and then also the coaching. They've had change at offensive coordinator. So there is just so many reasons here. And, I don't love excuses. However, I see some progression for him this year. Adam, why don't you fill in the gaps?
I'm going to jump on your back and keep riding with this because I want to highlight what you said about the injuries to your receivers. Any quarterback in the NFL, their top 2, let alone top 3 weapons goes down. So does your whole season. I don't care if you're Peyton Manning or Tom Brady. If you lose your top 3 weapons, you are going to regress and not do as well and have a major down year. So there's no disrespect to this. And the fact that ESPN is disrespecting him with projecting him 21st overall, that's a major value. I think this guy has value in 1 QB leagues. He could easily be a top 10 quarterback within his ability. He showed it his rookie year, and it was an amazing rookie year. And then echoing your offensive line, which I'll dive into more at the end of the show, it was pitiful. So I agree with everything you're saying. I think this guy's a great value. If there was one thing I could knock on Stroud, it's he likes to hold on to the ball a lot, which can be helpful for some big plays. But if you do it too much, it can ruin the flow of the offense and increase your sack rate too much. So that's the only knock I have on him, really. I hope his receiver is healthy this year. He's got some new ones out there. And prove the doubters wrong, man. They're putting you at 21. Shut them people up.
Yep. Okay, let's wrap him up for now.
Yep.
With that 1 quarterback projection, you're a little higher on him than I am.
You don't think he could be a top 10 quarterback this year?
I'm not projecting it this year. I
think
he's going to outperform 21, but I don't think he'll be in the top 10.
I think his rookie year, he was right around the top 10 or right within that. So I think it's very much within his abilities.
It could be within his abilities. Yes, absolutely. What I see here is a new receiving cast. Obviously, they retain Nico Collins as his Diva 1, who I'm probably the most highest on. And as is, the consensus with ADP. Let's get into him, and then we can kind of touch back and forth a little bit on where we think
Put
at
him
the
on a
end.
pedestal so I can help bring him down, please.
Yeah, Nico Collins finished as Diva 20, and he's currently wide receiver 7, projected ADP, 13th overall. So top receivers last 2 years, breaking out with a 1,200-yard receiving in 15 games. That is something, though, that he has missed games over the years, at least 2 in all 4 seasons. But he's been elite. And honestly, like I know what some of that shows, but when you watch him out there, he just looks like a different human compared to everybody else. Like he is just bigger, faster, and stronger in the receiving compared to anybody else. So
Yep.
I'm very high on him. I love him at AP. I think he's a true wide receiver 1. He's currently finished last year with 99 targets, only 68 catches, 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns. 2025 projections with ESPN, 143 targets. So they got 45 more targets this year is what they're expecting from him. 98 catches, 1,300 yards, 8 touchdowns. I am in on that. I am very confident in him. The other guys there, they're new, right? I think CJ Stroud's got his trusted and best weapon on this offense. I like the rookies that they drafted. However, I think that'll take time to develop. Tank Dell is still going to be gone if he comes back and when he comes back. So I am, very much bullish on Nico Collins here in this offense. Back to you.
All right. I like Nico Collins. I think he's a great athlete, a great receiver. I get what you said about him, and I love his volume potential. Okay, but I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate here. Never played more than 15 games in 4 seasons, like you said. 14, 10, 15, and 12. That is the definition of injury prone. In your first 4 years, if you can't stay healthy, how the heck are you going to do it at 26, 27, whatever he is now? Due to that, he has only had one top 15 wide receiver finish in his 4 years as an NFL player. He is going at the wide receiver 7 in standard and 6 in PPR. He's never once finished in the top 10. That is overvalued. Oh, well, yeah, on a per game basis.
He was
a
top 10 wide receiver on a per game basis.
It doesn't matter.
Seasons.
If you're not out there the whole season, it doesn't matter. I'm talking about the in total. Okay,
I'm talking about the in total. If he misses a couple of weeks during the season, I don't care. If he's there to win me a championship, I'll take it.
Yeah, until those couple weeks or weeks 14 through 17, you don't have him playing.
Then he's fired.
Yeah.
Then next year exactly. I'm drafting somebody else.
And that's the point I'm trying to prove. There's other guys out there that I think are better that are going after him. Brian Thomas being one. Clear cut, I would draft Brian Thomas in front of this guy all day long. Another one that I would think about but don't love the QB situation as much as A.J. Brown. And then maybe even who's a way bit down there, Lad McConkey in PPR. I would also probably draft him in front of Nico just due to the PPR and healthy standard of play. Okay. Is Nico great? Yes. But if he's injury prone, he's not getting my 7 wide receiver overall pick. And that's why I put a little dark light over him.
Okay. That's fair. I'll be higher on him. I'll take him when he's available.
Totally fine. Next up, folks, Jayden Higgins. This is their 2nd round pick in the NFL draft. He is currently going as Diva 53, ADP around 124. I very much like this cat. And Higgins in his 2 seasons at Iowa State, 140 catches for 2,166 yards and 15 touchdowns. This dude is a bit of a freak show. He's 6'4", 214 pounds. So this is another tall, big, athletic weapon for Stroud to throw to. And he's going to have the DB2 on him, as we know. All the attention is going to be on Nico Collins, as we know. This guy also has an 80-inch wingspan. So he's just a freak athletically and physically. I think this guy has a great year. They're projecting him for 800 yards and 4 touchdowns. I could see him being one of the rookies that gets over 1,000 yards, especially if Nico Collins does what he does, which is take a few games off. That just adds to this guy's value even more. This is a great sleeper pick for those that want him.
Yeah, I'm fine with some flyers on him at his ADP. That's about it. I think he does have high upside, yes, especially probably in the touchdown red zone department with his profile here. I agree with that. However, it's still a rookie. It's still very much unproven in the NFL. And with this offense, I think it'll take time. So I am a little lower on him than you for that.
Okay. 4.4, 740 for a 6'4", 215-pound guy. That's pretty freaking fast.
Yeah, I mean, they also brought over Christian Kirk, right? And then they also drafted Jaylin Noel in the 3rd round as well. So I think these 3 receivers, it's very hard for me to be in on them without knowing.
Yeah, there's a little bit of risk involved there for sure.
Whereas Nico Collins, consistency, he's been there. He's the true one. So, and he's just a monster out there for a receiver. So
Yeah, and so is this guy. They're gonna have two monsters out there, which I like for Stroud's sake. Even
okay.
further pushes up Stroud's value.
Okay, Christian Kirk, brought over from Jacksonville, and currently he's being projected for about 42 catches, 500 yards, 3 touchdowns. So most formats not really relevant. He's always kind of been a slot guy. He did have some value in Jacksonville. Last year had a tough season. I don't think there's any formats where I'm probably going to be drafting him. You?
No, because I like the ceiling and the potential more of Jayden Higgins. And Jayden Higgins and this guy are going to be battling for the number 2 spot. Christian Kirk's, I believe, going into his 8th NFL season, so he's a little bit older. A couple years ago in Jacksonville, he was fantasy relevant, and those times are since past. So I don't really want him either. I think Higgins is the upside play here. And you can get either one of those guys around the same area. Higgins, obviously, a round or two before him.
Okay, I'm fine with that. And then, and obviously Higgins, and then also Jaylin Noel.
Yep.
I like them for dynasty for sure.
Yep,
I
absolutely.
actually drafted Jaylin Noel in our dynasty league.
Did you know?
Yeah, and I think he was like the 3rd or 4th round. It was late. That's why I took him.
Okay.
But I don't mind him. I mean, he profiles similar to a Tank Dell.
Yeah.
Slot guy, can stretch the field. He's got great hands. So I'm assuming that's the role he's going to play, him and Kirk, and they're going to see who's going to, outshine the other here until Tank Dell, if Tank Dell, when Tank Dell type thing is really how I see it. But by and large, I like all of this for CJ Stroud, most importantly.
Absolutely. And Jaylin Noel has a 4.3, 840, smaller guy, but he is absolutely a speedster, more of a Tank Dell type body type. But
Exactly.
yes.
Yeah, he's the stretch the field guy type thing. So that's how they're running this offense. So I like it all for Stroud. I'm expecting somewhat of a bounce for him this year. The other 3 receivers, I'm probably not drafting in most redraft formats.
No.
Adam made a case for Jayden Higgins, and Nico Collins, I'm very high on. I think he's a true elite wide receiver 1.
And then, just the last thing to say about this receiving core and the question mark and mystique that lies behind Tank Dell. Devastating knee injury towards the end of the season last year. We don't even know if he'll play at all next year. Some people are projecting towards the end of the regular season he could come back, but that is one heck of a speculation, if you will. If you have an IR spot on your teams, that is the move for Tank Dell, because if he can come back around week 13 or 14 and you can get him in your playoffs, there's some little fun value with that. Anything else you want to say on that, Kyle?
Just wishing him the best in his recovery is all I would say.
Yep, he's in the facilities. He's rehabbing every day. Get that knee better, man. You're fun to watch when you're out there, and you have a whole fun slew of guys around you for when you do get back to help you out.
All right, Dalton Schultz, tight end here, finished as tight end 23 last year, projected as tight end 28 by ESPN, ADP 190, so basically undrafted in most formats. 50 catches, 500 yards, 2 touchdowns last year. Adam, what happened? Talk to me about Schultz. What's your take here? I want to know.
I mean, what happened was what happened to the entire Houston Texans offense, and that was all their guys went down. CJ Stroud crapped his pants a little bit, and the offensive line was terrible, so no one really had a lot of love. So I don't think there's as much fault on Schultz as much as it is the entire Houston Texans offense and team last year that all kind of, crapped the bed a bit. He's a slower guy. That's the one thing about Dalton Schultz. He's a real slow guy. And this is funny because now we're back to, if you want to punt at tight end, here's someone in a potentially high-powered passing offense that you could pick up that could be a great value for you with him being potentially undrafted.
Yeah, he's going to be undrafted in most formats. I see him as a bye week fill-in for your tight ends when you know what I mean?
And I guess the other one positive thing you'd say is with the 2 new rookies in there and Kirk being in there, this is one guy that's has some camaraderie with Stroud and, has been in the offense like Nico. So that might give him a little bit more love early on than not, just because the other guy's got to get up to NFL speed.
Okay, RBs. Joe Mixon finished last year as RB11, projected RB19. Current ADP is 48. Probably expecting that to slide a little bit. He does have an injury he is dealing with. However, he is expected to lead the backfield this season. Their last year, just over 1,000 yards, 11 touchdowns. So, that's where a lot of his work came in there. 244 carries, This year, he's projected for 220, 950 yards, and 9 touchdowns. So they're just shy of 1,000 yards on him this year. They also have acquired Nick Chubb. What's your take on Joe Mixon this year?
So Joe Mixon got a lot of volume last year, and he impressed me, but he had a lot of volume, 245 carries and 11 touchdowns. That helped bolster his finish quite a bit. I see regression from him. And there's one thing I like to kind of point out here. Joe Mixon is 29 years old, and Nick Chubb is 29 years old. If you take away Chubb's devastating knee injury and you put these players next to each other, who's the better running back? Nick Chubb.
I think
Nick Chubb all day.
They're probably very comparable as that, but I do believe Nick Chubb's probably a between the tackles better runner. I think I would give the passing work and outside work to Joe Mixon.
Sure, but again, minus that knee injury from over a year ago, they're not comparable. Nick Chubb has a way better yards per carry. Just about every year of his career, he's finished over 5 yards per carry, which is insane in a questionable Cleveland Browns offense for the most part. And minus
they did
last
have a good
year,
offensive line.
Yeah, they did. Fair enough on that. But Nick Chubb, and I think this is a guy with a mentality that he thinks he's being doubted and hated on, and it is not someone to doubt or hate on. Once the Cleveland Browns drafted Judkins or whatever they did there the next day or week, he went online and posted a video of him jumping over a little post and hitting his head on the freaking ceiling. Hitting his head on the ceiling. Most ceilings are like 9 to 10 feet tall, give or take. This dude, I think with another year removed from that devastating knee injury, I think he's coming back with vengeance. I don't think Joe Mixon is healthy all year. There's already question marks there. Chubb is a wonderful value pick in all drafts, and at projected RB 62, it could be a potential steal to help bolster anyone's team to the championship and potentially being an RB2.
Yep. Okay. I'm not as full blown committed to that as you are. I do like it.
Someone's got to do it.
I like it for RB value. Yes.
Yeah.
I like it. And I am slightly lower on Joe Mixon this year. I recognize he finishes RB 11 last year, and like we said, 11 touchdowns. This is a candidate to me for touchdown regression, big time.
Yep.
That's how I just
hope. I hope Chubb comes out fully healthy and back to his old self, because it won't even be a competition.
I mean, if they're both healthy, I see them both being used in the offense. But
yes, for sure.
I don't see what's going on with Joe Mixon. He's kind of had a history of some injuries, but currently I don't see him coming out of the gate strong this season. So
not if he's already dealing with injury, no.
Yep. So if Nick Chubb still has recovered a bit, another year removed from his injury, and he's back to his old form, I can make a case for him. Absolutely.
Yep. The only counter argument to me wanting Chubb to do well is the contract situation. He's only on a 1-year deal, and they signed Mixon to like a 3-year deal or something like that. So the money says there's still much more of a fan of Mixon, but history tells me that Chubb's a better running back.
Okay. I'm curious to see how this backfield plays out. Why don't you shout out the other guys behind these guys?
Woody Marks, their 4th rounder. Dameon Pierce, only 25 years old. One thing about Dameon Pearson, last game of the season for the Texans, he had like 17 carries for 150 plus yards. So the dude packed a punch. I think it was against the Titans, so forgive me for that. But nonetheless, the dude had a little life in him in the last game of the season last year. So if both these older guys go down, we'll see who kind of gets that spot. Last but not least, Dare Ungumbowale out of Wisconsin, I do believe.
Nice. Okay, yeah, those guys are pretty much tough for me to own in anything redraft. But I do see a little bit of value with Pierce. He's kind of been one of those guys that occasionally outperforms and then goes away. And you're like, dude, where you at?
You know, for sure. But if Chubb and Mixon go down in their older selves, Dameon Pierce at 25, he could be a sleeper. He could be a handcuff of a handcuff, I might say.
All right. Double handcuff. Okay. Coaching, DeMeco Ryans, former linebacker for Houston Texans. He's a true Texan through and through. First 2 seasons, 23-24. He led the Texans to back-to-back 10-win seasons and playoff berth. So, I mean, he's doing it. He came out of the gate like, hey, I'm going to be a good head coach. Here it is. Deal with it. New offensive coordinator. So this is probably the biggest component to the coaching staff this year.
Give it to us.
After Nick Kelly, after his long tenure in New England as mostly a tight end coach with Bill Belichick, he joined Sean McVay's staff with the Rams and as a tight end coach. And then he also ended up a passing game coordinator in 2024. And it was a really crucial period for his development. And I'm kind of excited to see him work with Stroud and all of this talent in this receiving room. So I'm a little higher on that because of that. Nico Collins, CJ Stroud. I think that just boosts that. Now, why don't you talk about the O line?
I would love nothing more because boy, oh boy, was it a terrible offensive line last year. Their preseason rank before last year was 13. They finished 32nd. It does not get any worse than that. And their season and offense showed it. Okay. Now, with that said, before last year, Laramie Tunsil retired. There's no filling his shoes. So that's a big part of why last year was pitiful. However, they made a lot of changes, you guys. They essentially brought in every lineman with a potential or a chance that they could to make things better, and I respect the heck out of them doing that. They acquired Cam Robinson, which should help secure their left tackle position for them. Laken Tomlinson comes over from Seattle to secure the left guard position. They drafted a second-round pick in Arente Ursary, so he's going to have some potential out there. I like what they did there. And then at the right tackle position, here's the one bad spot they got returning is Blake Fisher. He had a bad rookie year last year. He needs to step it up in that tackle position. But they moved a ton of things around, and they needed to. So, again, I respect that. My expectation is the first couple of weeks, there's going to be some kinks to work out within this offensive line. But if they can come together and get humming, it could be a nice thing to watch.
Okay. So how are you feeling about them this year?
Well, considering they finished 32nd at the end of last year, I think I'll put them at 18 to 20, somewhere in that range, because they did so many changes, and some of these guys are pretty solid. So,
okay. So they're going to aspire to be toward the middle of the pack.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Free agency moves, notable departure, Stephon Diggs to New England and Robert Woods to the Steelers. They had a lot of things happen on the defensive side of the ball. I'm going to say most notably their young cornerback, Derek Stingley Jr., big money, $90 million extension. And then Danielle Hunter re-signed a 1-year pass rusher. And then offensive side of the ball, the running back depth, Ogunga Wale was re-signed. And free agents, we talked about Christian Kirk, Nick Chubb, probably the biggest ones there. And why don't you get us into draft picks?
Yeah, draft picks. So last year, we know 3 of their wide receivers went down. So they figured, what the heck? Let's take 2 in our first 3 picks. How about that? And that's exactly what they did. We touched on those guys a little bit. We also knew their offensive line was terrible. So they got Arante Ursary in the second round as well out of Minnesota, that tackle. Outside of that, they went defense and a safety in the cornerback in the 3rd round, safety in the 6th round, Graham Mertz in the 6th round. I like to point this out because Graham Mertz went before Quinn Ewers, who went to Miami, and that boggles my mind like anything I've ever seen because Quinn Ewers is a much better quarterback than Graham Mertz. Mm-hmm. Outside of that, in the 7th round, they also got Luke Lakey, tight end out of Iowa. And we've already touched on the weapons that they acquired. So we'll see what those young wide receivers can do out there.
Okay. Any final fantasy thoughts for Houston this year, Adam?
They're in a terrible division. It's theirs for the taking. They got their new weapons in place. They fixed their offensive line. I'm expecting 11 wins out of them this year. And most importantly, I'm expecting one heck of a season from CJ Stroud. He is going to shut up the haters from that sophomore slump. Next week, folks, we go back to the West Coast for the Los Angeles Rams.
Ooh, that'll be a good one.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you for tuning in to the Fantasy Football Channel. We will catch you guys in the next one.